At time of recording, we are just over halfway into the second season of DANDADAN. Now, DANDADAN is one of my favorite weekly reads in Shonen Jump. Every Monday, I look forward to it. At time of recording, we are sitting at 206 chapters in DANDADAN. Now, the anime has been popping off. A lot of good reception for both the first season and the second season. So if I understand, there was a little bit of criticism towards the animation shift. I myself have been enjoying it just fine. But we are here to answer a question. 206 chapters in. Does DANDADAN still hold up? We're about to find out, but first, cue that theme song.
Rambling addiction, yeah, you're hanging out with Lucas. Manga, animator, anything, alright, let's do this. Weekly is the basis, worst generation. Cooking up a feast while he's turning through the pages. Theories that he's making, from shonen to seinen. Locked in, analyzing, using observation. Yeah, observation. Rambling addiction.
So it is I, StrawHatLucas, and welcome back to another episode of Rambling Addiction, the series where I talk and you listen. Now, it has been a minute since I was able to post, so I wanted to come back and have some fun today. We're going to be ranking every single arc that has gone through DANDADAN. If you look at the tier list on the screen, you can't see this hand, I just realized that. If you look at the tier list on the screen, you'll see that I kept every shot that has been animated in the series colored and have left the other ones in their black and white original state for the manga. That way, if you're just current on the anime and you want to see where I put these arcs, you can still watch without getting into spoilers. So I am setting myself some limits. Only 2 arcs will go into each block and 1 into the S tier. And with that, let's get underway. First up is the Turbo Granny arc.
If you let me gobble your dung.
So you'll notice this a lot with DANDADAN is the arc is named after the villain or antagonist of the arc. And what better way than to start the series with one of the most iconic villains in the entire series because of their role and everything going forward. They're basically Momo and Okarun's sidekick. Yeah, we love Turbo Granny in this household. Not only that, but I think this arc does a very good job of setting up the fundamentals of what DANDADAN is. We see that budding romance between Momo and Okarun, but we also get a little bit of a trope that Tetsu really leans into as he goes throughout the series in giving these villains these really tragic backstories. And that's kind of on full display with how Turbo Granny and the spirit within the tunnel became the amalgamation they did, with Turbo Granny forming a bond with the victims of a murder who had passed away outside of the tunnel. So yeah, solid arc, sets up a lot of the good tropes in the series. For right now, I think we're going to put this one in A. Like I said, very good introduction. Actually, no, B. It's a good introduction to the series. Like I said, set up some really good tropes, but I feel reserved. But God, why did I put a limitation on myself, guys? This was a mistake. So next up, we have the acrobatic Silky arc, and yeah, as I just said with Turbo Granny, I really love the trope that Tetsu has of giving his characters these tragic stories for them to kind of overcome in present day. But Silky has a very special one because she doesn't really overcome it. We don't know if she got to reunite with her child in the afterlife. We do know that she found some solitude with what happened with her and Ira, but there's that lingering mystery. Did she get peace, you know? I don't know where to put this one. I'm not gonna lie. I definitely don't think it can go any lower than A, right? Any lower than A. We're gonna put it in A. That feels right. It has one of the most emotional moments of anime of all time and manga of all time. It was actually the storyline that got me hooked on the manga. I just think that Tetsu did such a good job setting up Silky and her backstory, and not only that, but Ira as a new member of Gang to Gang, and making you care about Ira when you really didn't at the start of the arc. So yeah, solidly written arc, and once again, one of the most emotional moments in the entire series. Next up is the Serpo arc. Now, the Serpo arc is where they fight the Loch Ness monster within the pool, and we find out about like the empty space full on after the sumo wrestler incident. Yeah, and this is a really cool display of not only Ira's new powers, but Okarun still trying to figure out, how to fight with Turbo Granny to a full effectiveness. And I think it does a very good job of that. But do I think it stands up to the rest of these arcs? No, I do not. I do think it falls flat in the grander scope of the story of DANDADAN. So we're going to put this one as our first D tier. Lock it in there. I do love the Serpos as villains. They're comedy gold. And they pull off some pretty awesome feats later on in the series. Next up is the Cursed House arc. Now, I am not going to lie. I think this may be the weakest arc in DANDADAN. It does a great job of introducing Gigi, who we got a little bit of at the end of the Serpo arc, or right at the beginning, having trouble placing exactly right when he got introduced, but we did get a little bit of him there, and I think this brought up that really good, there was a good tension there between him and Okarun during this arc, before it kind of fizzles out towards the end of the next arc. With the whole death worm and bolt that's feeding it and stuff, it's very intriguing. I like it. I won't say, there is more depth to it than I want to say, but I'm trying to keep this spoiler light for those who aren't going to be watching past what has been covered in the anime, right? So yeah, I think I'm going to put this in C. It's just an okay arc. I think it's better than the Serpo arc. That's definitely for sure. So I think C is a good place. Next up is the Evil Eye arc.
Gigi would never ever hit Momo.
I think my favorite aspect of the Evil Eye arc is how Gigi handles the evil eye being inside his body. He's more concerned that this child who became the evil eye is finally free and they're wanting to trap it. And it's really well done. I love Tetsu's emotional writing, and I think that he pulled it off with Gigi in making us fall in love with the character. That said, I'm going to put this one in C as well. Actually, I think I'm going to put it in C and then move Cursed House into D, because I was looking at the rest of the arcs, and there's no way I can put any of them in D class. No way at all. Next up is the Kaiju arc and our first contender for S tier. I'm going to give a spoiler warning now. I think the anime may be up to this point by time this video drops, but at recording, it isn't. I don't want to risk spoiling anyone's enjoyment of the series. So spoiler warning, we're getting into stuff that has not been animated yet. The Kaiju arc, though, is one of my favorite arcs. It introduces Vamola, or Bamora, however you want to say her name, and Kenta.
I'm Kenta Sakata!
Which we love Kenta. Kenta is one of my favorite characters in all of DANDADAN. It is 10-gallon wiener time. If you know, you know. And Vamola's kind of a formidable opponent. One of the strongest the gang has fought so far. With Kenta and his knowledge of mech manga and anime,
I have given you a name. Me, your creator.
They defeat Vamola and she joins the gang. Barring Turbo Granny, who is there even though she doesn't want to be, this is the first time we get a villain that becomes part of the gang. And I think Tatsu really pulled it off well. I think Vamola is one of the best written characters in the series, and that's why I have to put this arc in A, because next arc definitely has the potential to be the S tier. So this is the space globalist arcs. This is where the aliens come into play full force. Up until now, we've mainly just been dealing with Serpos when it comes to that side, and then we get Vamola in the Kaiju arc, and this is like several races of aliens that are coming to Earth. And for the first big arc in the series, consisting of 46 chapters, I think Tetsu nailed it. He really played every single one of the villains of this arc off well. They were menacing. Okarun and what's going on with him, and him bedridden, and Momo trying to hold things together. And then we also get Vamola's intense backstory, which also ties in a lot of real world elements into, and our history into, the story of DANDADAN. It's just a mastercraft, and I think I have to put this in S tier. I don't know if it'll stay there completely, but I think that's where I got to put it, because like I said, one of my favorite aspects of Dandadan. I did a video as my second ever episode of Rambling Addiction, where I suggested people to read Dandadan before the anime came out. One of the selling points I always give people, the way that Tetsu ties in real world mythology into the story of Dandadan, which we get another reveal of this when we get the overarching, what most people believe is the overarching series villain in this arc, which is Saint Germain. So yeah, we're gonna put the Space Globalist up in the S tier for right now. I think it's very deserving of that. The next arc is the Onbasumin arc. Now, this one focuses on Rin, who is the newest member of Gang to Gang, and it's kind of a come down in between the last big arc and the next big arc, right? But it is not one you want to skip. I think the story between Rin and her childhood friend May, who passed away and is haunting her, is very well done. As I'd said earlier, it sets up the next arc by showing that Saint Germain has taken up resident at their school as a mysterious teacher. Saint Jomi, I think, is like what his nickname is. Yeah, I think this is just a really, really well done arc, and it's a really good bridge point into what was to come and what had just gone down. I think I'm gonna have to put it in C though, looking at the other arcs. Also, I'm realizing right now that I will be able to put 2 arcs into S tier, and I'm so glad because I was sweating. Onbasumin, C tier, just because I think the other arcs in this list. But do I feel like Turbo Granny arc is better than Onbasumin? I don't. So sorry, Granny, you're going into C. Onbasumin is going up into B tier. Next up, we're going into the Danmara arc, or Diorama arc. This is possibly my favorite arc in all of Dandadan. I'm not going to lie. I think the introduction of Zuma is just magnificent in his backstory and the way it ties into the world seamlessly. I like tying it back to the cop that was introduced at the beginning of the arc and everything. It's just really well done. And him and Momo inside the diorama and Okarun trying to get them out. And when he finally gets them out and he looks at Momo and I love you, was a moment I'd been waiting for 2 years. Just so well done. I think Tetsu really delivered the payoff. And then her being stuck tiny and saying, "Say it to me again once I'm big." Like, it's just rounds of applause for Tetsu. I think I'm gonna put this up in S tier though. Yeah, I think this. But is it better? Yeah, I think it is. I think it is better than the Space Globalist arc. So that only leaves 2 more arcs in all of Dandadan. Next is the Kozuka Knives arc. Hold up. Before we do that, I have to make another tier, guys. Can you tell I did not properly plan this? Okay, so we had to make a new tier. This top tier is going to be called the Best. And we're going to move the Danmara arc right up there. So we have another place in S now and another place in the last 2 arcs. Man, I should have really counted those rows beforehand. Even with the mess up, I think we can nail this, guys, with our rankings. So first up in these last 2, the Kozuka Knives arc. Now this introduces Koki Yoki Shiro, which I know sounds horrible in my Midwestern accent, but Koki is a very well-written character. I think that her story and the way that she connects with the gang later in the arc is fairly well done and written. Her little gnome dudes, holy shit, are those the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. Once those get animated, I'm definitely getting me a tattoo of those bad boys. Maybe even before then, get a tattoo of the gnome boy. You know what? I never have done this. If this video gets 50 likes, I'll go get a tattoo of one of those gnome boys. But yeah, this is just a really well done arc, and it introduces the knives, which is the title of the arc, where they can steal people's powers. So she is going after Momo and to steal her power. And now Okarun has lost his because they got family jewels back. So yeah, it created a unique sense of tension. And then, not to lie, it gave us one of the best panels I've ever seen in manga. I'm gonna give it a moment. Just look at it. And Tatsu delivers these kind of panels every single week almost. Yeah, I think this one is actually gotta go in A. Now hear me out. We're gonna move it to A and move the kaiju up to S, bottom of S. Just for right now, we're going to go through these again in the end game, right? We're on our last one. So next up is the Typhoon Human arc. This was the most recent arc. As I said, at time of recording, there is 206 chapters, and this was ended at chapter 200. We're 6 chapters into the newest arc, which is not on the board. So yeah, this was only an 8-chapter arc, like some of the earlier arcs. And I'm not gonna lie, I think this may be one of the weaker arcs of DANDADAN. I don't know if it's necessarily as weak as the Serpo arc. The concept of the Typhoon Human is amazing. I was just praising Tetsu's drawing ability. Check out the Human Typhoon. He straight up did a Sharknado, and I love him for it. But where do we put this, right? Like I said, I think it's one of the weaker ones. So I think I'm going to move this up to B. Or no, move Turbo Granny up to B. And put it at the bottom of C, just under Evil Eye. Yeah, so with the current state of the manga, they're going to go try to find this hammer and just to set up the Human Typhoon arc for you guys. And it's going to fix Momo and make her grow back to normal size, this mythical like prayer hammer thing. I don't know, I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head right now. But they're on this plane, and the Kito family, who were just shown in the anime earlier this season, are there, and like they all go into the negative space, E space, whatever it's called, and they have to like hold the plane together and fight off a Sharknado. It was pretty fun. Like, it was a very fun arc, but it was definitely just to bridge point us to them getting towards the hammer. So going over this list, though, I think I'm satisfied with it, if I'm honest. I think the worst parts of DANDADAN, which there aren't really any bad moments. I've never found myself bored when watching or reading DANDADAN. But I think the worst parts of it are there in the D tier with the Serpo arc and the Cursed House arc. And it's just peak from there. I'm going to be honest. I don't know why I even came up with the concept of, is it holding up? Because yes, it's holding up. It's one of my most recommended series. If you are not reading DANDADAN, experiencing the anime is one thing, but I urge at least some of the community who don't want to just stick with the anime, if you've just been lingering on like, oh, should I get into the manga? Should I not? Do it. It's one of the best weekly reads I've ever experienced, if I'm honest. I don't think there's ever been a time where I'm like, oh yeah, another DANDADAN chapter, I'm gonna wait to read that. You know what I mean? Like it in One Piece, I'm just locked in immediately. But yeah, guys, that's it for me today, really. I wanted to do something fun this week, a little light, since it is my first week back. As you can see, I moved. So if you did not catch the last 2 live streams on the channel, I have successfully moved house. I haven't got the setup completely there, but it'll be up soon. But yeah, I wanted to do something fun this week, just light, ease my way back into it. I have some really good episodes coming up next week. We're going to be looking at. I'm probably going to have editor Lucas bleep that out so I can keep you guys surprised. But yeah, if you are new here, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Subscribing is a big one. I'm going for 500 subs right now. And yeah, I would really appreciate it if you join me on that journey. But once again, I've been StrawHatLucas, and I just have to say it is so good to be back. I feel so rejuvenated and ready to bring out some more guys. So buckle up, buckaroos.
Buckle up, buckaroo.
Because we're hitting 500 subs by the end of the year. But more important than that, and more important than anything else that I've said in this video, I want you to have a wonderful, wonderful night.